Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Boot Camp Blueprint, the place where fitness professionals go to grow their fitness business. I'm super excited this week because we have one of the biggest rock stars in the fitness industry in the world. A little bit about this person. I originally reached out because I saw she won the 2019 IDEA Fitness Leader of the Year. Now, if I see anyone win any award, I love to get them as a guest on this show because it's a huge achievement. But winning that specific award here, don't get me wrong, it's awesome if you win an award in Australia, if you win a Fitness Australia award, but I think over in America, they've got something like 10 times the population we do over here, so it's an even bigger accolade over there. And then when I reached out to this person, I found not only did she win that award, her new role is actually the Vice President of the Active Interest Media Fitness Group, which means she oversees not only IDEA Health and Fitness, but also IDEA China, also the Oxygen magazine. I believe it's one of the largest media enthusiast companies in the world. I think they have like 40 million readers or something like that. But not only that, she's done it all, right? She's been the executive member, or I think she is an executive member of the Women in Fitness Association. She's the owner of In and Out Fitness Solutions. She's been on the member industry advisory panel at the American Council of Exercise. She's been on the program director committee at IDEA. I could go all day, but I think I'm just going to introduce her. Let me introduce the one and only Ms. Amy Thompson. Amy, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for that warm introduction. I appreciate it.
Oh, I had to tone it down. I could have gone all day with all the things you're doing there. So, Amy, I like to start all my podcasts off with a quote or mantra that inspires you or fires you up. Have you got one for us?
Oh, well, I didn't prepare one, so I'm just going to go into my bank of business. I've always had a management philosophy that I use, and it's that I'm firm and I'm friendly, but I'm also flexible. And I lead with that in any of my leadership positions that I've had. It's served me well and it suits my personality, and it also gives me a chance to pause and give people the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, yes. That's definitely a leader I want to follow. I want them to be firm, but I also need them to be friendly and flexible as well. So I love that. Hey, Amy, what I was hoping to talk about today, you winning that award and you in the position you're in, you've got probably one of the highest positions in the fitness industry in the world. And I'm sure there's a lot of my listeners that are like, wow, how did she do it? I'm here teaching a local fitness class at the gym, or I'm running a local boot camp, or I'm a personal trainer, or maybe I'm managing a gym, but I would love to be in one of those positions there. I was hoping for the next 20, 25 minutes, you could just let us know how you did it. If you can start right from the start, how you got in the industry, and if there's any tips along the way, if you feel you can stop and say, hey, so if you're in this position here, this is what I recommend you do. And if I've got any feedback, I'll let you know. But I'd love just to hear your story and how you did it. Is that okay with you?
I would love that. Thank you for the opportunity. Well, I'll start with, I am from a very large family. I'm one of 10 children. And so in that family setting, I needed to be athletic for a few reasons. One, because I had 5 brothers that were bigger than me. And 2, that I needed to get a meal ticket out of the house as soon as possible. So being one of 10 actually was wonderful, but I ended up playing sports. I played basketball and volleyball, and it truly was a ticket out of the house. I earned myself a scholarship to college and got my education and got a chance to pursue something that at the time didn't know what it would be, but I eventually just kind of followed my passion for sports. So my studies were at the time, we didn't really even have kinesiology majors, at least at the colleges that were recruiting me. So I chose a physical education and health education major with a specialty in athletic training so I could stay around the athletes. And so, it was an interesting time. I'm in my late 40s now. So at the time, there were not a lot of female role models to look to in the athletic industry. And so upon graduating, I thought I would become a basketball coach and a PE teacher, and that would be my life. And then I'd probably make a bunch of babies and tape ankles or whatever I needed to do. And by the way, I do not have 10 children. I have 2. So there you go. But, so I finished college and I started working as an assistant strength and conditioning coach at my campus where I had gone to school. And at the same time, I needed a change of scenery and they didn't pay that great. So I went down the street and I worked at an all women's club as a personal trainer. So it was how I finished college and when I was finishing my last semester and then my first years outside of college. And what I learned from that experience was a few things. At that point, I realized athletes were entitled and spoiled and selfish, and I didn't enjoy working with them as much as I thought I might. And the second thing that I learned from that experience was that I absolutely fell in love with personal training. I just realized that I made a difference in these women's lives. I got to work with people with all different kinds of backgrounds and life's interesting stories and injuries they were overcoming, and just all kinds of really neat situations were thrown my way that I got to experience as a new trainer.
Yes.
That was a really pivotal point in my career right there.
Yes. And I'll even give the first tip that I can see here. You can probably hear it in Amy's voice as well, is just the passion. That's got to be number one, right? If you've got that passion, everything else is going to flow from that. If you don't have that passion, it's going to be an uphill battle, right?
Yes, exactly. I just loved going to work and working with those women. So, I started going to massage therapy school because it fit with my athletic training. And I made a really good niche for myself in the club because I had the athletic training background and sports massage. It really helped me to stand out among a sea of trainers at the time. And that would be, later I moved away from my college town. I moved to San Diego and I started working in a premier health club there. And we had a team of 26 trainers, but there were only 2 of us that could work with injuries and could really help our clients in that regard. So that was another unique skill that I had that kind of helped me stand out and grow my business.
Would you say, just a quick question here, sorry to interrupt, but I think it's another good point there as well. Would you say that's important for a young trainer starting off here, where if you're starting off, of course you need to start off somewhere and know a little bit of everything, but it's going to help if you can detail in one area and have that niche or that specialty? Would you give that bit of advice for some of the younger trainers out there?
Yeah, so I teach trainers that, one, working in a health club is amazing because you are going to get an opportunity to work with everything from A to Z, as I call it, and you'll see a little bit of everything come in the door. But what it will help you realize is quickly where your passion lies. And so I teach them in the beginning of your career, you'll need to do 80% of your business with everybody that walks in the door and maybe 20% you love. But if you want longevity in this career, eventually you'll want to reverse that so that you're doing 80% who you really love, who makes you want to get out of bed in the morning, and the 20% that you're like, they pay the bills and I know I'm helping them and I can make it through this hour.
I love that so much. And I want to back you up on there, Amy, because I spend a lot of time online these days. And that's a common message online. Hey, if you want to be successful, you got a niche, you got a niche, you got a niche. And it can stress a lot of trainers out. Oh, where am I going to niche? What am I going to do? And yes, that's important. But the best way to start off is in that health club. And that's the exact same way I started off as well. And I was lucky where it was like a equivalent to a YMCA sort of thing. So you were employed full-time by the gym, and every member that signed up got like 5 complimentary sessions. So I didn't have a choice. It was literally everyone that came in the door, I had to give them 5 complimentary sessions, no matter who they were. But that was amazing for that exact reason. A, I got to speak to so many different people and learn a lot about different people. But B, I was able to find out super quick, okay, I like this, I don't like this. How can I get deeper into this sort of stuff here? So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, that's right. And then, you know what? It changes through your career, I would add, is that if you find something you start to like, you chase that path for a while. It could be corrective exercise. I took some Pilates instructor courses. I started a lot of different paths. And then even pre-postnatal when I was pregnant, and I had a chapter of my career in that specialty. But I don't think there's anything wrong with shifting your niche depending on where you are in your career and in your life. So that's another piece of advice I would offer.
Yes, love that. All right. So then the next step from there, Amy. So you're in San Diego, you're at this new facility, you're doing really well with the personal training. Where does it go from there?
Yeah, so I started to diversify myself in that club and made myself more valuable. I started running the leagues because I had basketball and volleyball as my talent. So I started leagues here in town, meaning I put together teams, I promoted it, I started a new revenue source for my club by bringing in teams and setting up leagues. So we ran volleyball. We had, I think, 3 different adult leagues going when we were there, and then we had several men's competitive leagues as well as corporate leagues. And then eventually I started the National Women's Basketball League as a result of this league that I had started in my health club.
Wow. Let me just get my head around this because I've never heard this before, and this sounds very interesting. So am I right in saying at your health club there was a gymnasium, there was like a basketball
Correct.
court there? And
Yes,
that was...
most of the day it was empty space.
Wow. And you've said, hey, I think we can make a league here. So you've started up a competition where it's like, okay, there's 5, 10 different teams and they play each other every week and there's semifinals and you started all that.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so we did that it took several years to build it, but the corporate piece was key. So if you're thinking about this and you're listening, if you can bring in teams that bring their own teams and you don't have to piece everyone together, it's really helpful. But that turned out to be a big success because there weren't a lot of opportunities to play in the area that we were in. And especially for women's basketball at the time, women would drive for 2 hours to play in our league because we were the only game in town at the time. And we had all the former collegiate players. So they wanted to come and get the best game in town.
Wow. I've got to ask, Amy, how did you come up with that idea? Because I've heard a lot of creative ideas in the fitness industry. I've never heard someone come up with that idea. How did that come to your mind?
Yeah, well, it was because it was my passion and it was my wheelhouse. It's what I knew. I selfishly wanted to play in the league as well, so I could attract that athlete to come in. But I'll tell you what, it was really thinking about how we could utilize that space in the club at night. We could bring people in. They were just playing pickup ball anyway, and some of the guys were asking, hey, would you bring refs in? Is this something you could do? So we set it up. There's lots of clubs that do offer competitive leagues, but eventually the ownership has to make a decision. Is it going to be something where you allow non-members to come in and play, or do they have to purchase a membership? So you have to look at your business model and make sure it fits within the business model. Most of the athletes that came to play were not members, but we had a unique setup where the gymnasium was detached from the rest of the gym. So it worked quite well in this environment for us.
Wow, love that. Now, I'll give a few points that I just read hearing Amy speak there, which I think the listeners will get out of. A few from a business side of things, I think it's really cool to be like, okay, there's some space here that's not being used. How can I utilize that space? I just think business-wise, that's really, really cool. But also the personal, and going back to the passion as well, was something that Amy wanted to do. She's like, you know what? How cool would it be if there was something like this? You know what? I'm going to freaking design it so it happens. I think that's cool for so many different ways because you're going to be passionate about it, but you also know that there's a market there. You're not just doing something and being like, oh, I think maybe some people might like this. It's like, I would freaking love this. I'm going to sign up myself to do it. You know there's a need because you want it and you're so much passionate about it. So I love that there. And I've got to ask, Amy, were you running this league and personal training as well? Or how did that work?
Yeah, I was personal training by day and then running the league at night. And then eventually I just hired other people to be the statistician, to run the officials, and I would just collect a percentage for my efforts. But most of the money, the profits did go to the club for the facility and such. But yeah, that was how it ran. So I was taking clients. Well, when you live by the beach, usually you take the best thing is take the morning shift and then go to the beach at 1 o'clock and then maybe come back and take some clients. So I ended up on that schedule for a period of time as well.
Love it. Awesome. All right, cool. And then what was the next stage from there? Then so that league started to run itself? Is that how that and you just took a percentage there?
Yeah, so the league started to run itself, and eventually I ended up handing it over to someone else to run. The next pivotal point in my career was we had an opportunity. There was an opportunity in my club for a manager of the PT team, and I had never envisioned myself in that role. I wouldn't have. There were plenty of other people that had seniority over me. I didn't think it was me, and so I never raised my hand. But my former manager had been moved to the general manager. She tapped me and said, I really think you'd be good for this role. Would you consider it? So we talked it through, and then eventually I became the manager of the team that I was a part of, which is in and of itself a challenge. But that was really interesting time for me because I became one level detached from the member. I needed to influence trainers to influence members. And that's the message I would share with anyone thinking about moving into management. It looks attractive because there may be a salary and it's security and maybe health benefits and it's full-time and steady. But the reality is that you are being moved into a position to inspire and motivate people and teach people. And so you get further away from the skill or the working with clients that you may actually love. So I did thrive in management, and that's why my story continued, but not everybody does. I've moved plenty of people into managers, and it just wasn't right for them because they didn't understand that it's about inspiring and moving people, and that you may not be getting the same fulfillment that you did as a trainer.
Yes, and a different, spot on, different interests, different fulfillment, different skill set. You might be the best personal trainer in the team. That doesn't mean you're going to be the best personal trainer, best manager of the personal trainers in the team there. So I think that's a very important point to bring up to any of the listeners. All right. So then from there, Amy, so you started to manage this team. Where did it go from there?
Well, the team thrived. I got to manage a lot of trainers that have now gone on to make some great names for themselves. We had a phenomenal club and department, and that presented an opportunity for our club to be acquired. And we were acquired by a large group of clubs here in California. And then immediately opportunities started to open up, and one of those was general manager. So I became the general manager of my same club. The woman who I had been following, she left to have her baby, and I took her role as general manager. And so I think I was age 26 when I had that job. Oh, wow. And I was running the premier club in La Jolla, and it was really a challenge. And again, one more layer removed from the members in terms of being a practitioner, but talk about face-to-face with the member when it comes to them giving feedback and learning how to deal with conflict and how to address members' needs, and really a whole different level of communication and a skill set that I really needed to refine. So that was a great, amazing experience. And I don't know that, again, the rest of my career path would have been possible having not experienced that. Being a general manager was, I tell everybody, I think it's the hardest and most thankless job in the industry because you are dealing with so many different things. And oftentimes, I was in a single site club and then we got acquired, but oftentimes it is a very isolating job. You don't have a lot of people to talk to in your role, and you're dealing with a lot of conflict often, and positive things. It's not all negative, but it was just an interesting place in my career, and again, developing as a leader in that way. So it was challenging.
Question for you there, Amy. Say someone's listening to this and they're like, you know what, that's the pathway I want to go. What skill sets would you recommend? If you had to pick maybe 2 or 3, you've got a trainer that's just been put into a management position there. What would you say are the top 2 or 3 skills they need to learn to be a good leader or a good manager?
Yeah. Well, within communication, you have a lot of different stakeholders. So one, your stakeholder is your owners or the executive leadership that oversees you. So you've got to have a different type of rapport and communication with that stakeholder. The second stakeholder you have is your employee. And I think we had 120 employees that I was responsible for at that time. So you need to be accessible and available to them or the management team. And then lastly, and most importantly, is your member. And so really having a voice and a rapport with the member it's a skill that you have to learn. It's listening. It's really being able to articulate and communicate the decisions you're making in a club that will show them that it benefits the members, but it's also in the best interest of the business. And simple things from changing the type of toilet paper to the bagels in the locker room, if it such applies, you have to be able to articulate and justify all of those decisions to the members, because in our business, people take such ownership of their health club. I think that surprised me how much ownership they really feel invested in the club. So that's a big tip, I would say, communication to those stakeholders.
Yes, love that. All right. So then what's the next step there, Amy? So you're general manager of the club. Where did you go from there?
Yeah, good question. So from there, because of the growth that our clubs had, a regional and then national personal training position had opened within my club chain. So this club chain was based in San Francisco, and we went from being one club to 26 clubs. So initially I was running the personal training, and there was no small group training back then. I'm dating myself now. But we were doing personal training I did the southern region, and then eventually all of 26 of those clubs, working with the fitness managers to grow PT revenue, drive programming, education, hiring, all of those different processes.
Okay, I've got a question here, and the answer may be the same as the previous one. It feels like you're just going up the ladder and then up the ladder and then up the ladder and then up the ladder and up the ladder. Is there one specific skill that you've got, or is there something that you've really got, or is there one tip that you could give someone that's like, man, this woman just keeps climbing and climbing and climbing. How does she do it? Is it natural? Does it go back to the communication? Is there anything you could let us know that's helped you with your success to do that?
Yeah, the communication is big, and I'll have some other tips for you later as my career progressed. But I think for me, it's really about always having a learning attitude and a coachable attitude, and knowing I never had to have all the answers. I have lots of smart people that work with me, and if you collaborate and work together as a team, let's go back to the 10 children and to the being a collegiate athlete. I've carried this team mentality through my leadership, where if we all collaborate together, then it makes leading much easier because people are following willingly. You don't have to pull anybody. They're just following because they're involved in the process. So that's what I would offer at this stage in leadership. That became apparent to me is now I'm inspiring people to move the end user who's the member in the club. And to do that, I really have to be able to make decisions cohesively and to be able to articulate those and get people inspired around their job and what it is we're trying to do.
Yes, love it. Okay, cool. So where does this ladder stop? Does it get to a point where you're like, all right, I'm the top of this here?
Yeah, I told you I'm in my mid-40s. I'll jump ahead a little bit. So I left that role because I decided to go and work with a fitness franchise called Fit for Mom. And it was at the time in my career when I was starting to have babies. So in this role, I was the COO for Fit for Mom. It's a franchise that had over 300 franchisees across 3 different countries. Wow. And we were teaching fitness classes with our babies in strollers and doing them at parks. And I taught at SeaWorld, and I taught, just at museums and Costco, wherever. We kind of took this concept and we grew it and took it across the globe. And that was where I learned about franchising. That was where I learned about impacting people all over the world that I never got to work with face to face. A lot of it was a remote business, and that was exciting. And then also it was really my first interface with fitness professionals who didn't grow up in the traditional career path that I did or that you may have. So these were women who were passionate about fitness that had a baby and said, I want to stay home with my baby. Now what do I do? And so they looked for a career opportunity to be able to do that. So that was fun and interesting, and bringing them into the industry was really enjoying. Yeah.
I think, do you know who Shannon Fable is?
Yes, of course.
Is she's running it now, or she's overseeing that program now, is she?
So she's overseeing the same system that I had, and she's working. Lisa Druxman is the founder of that company, and so Shannon is running that same company now. Yes.
Yes. She was on the podcast the other week, actually.
Oh. Great choice.
Yes, I only make good choices on this podcast of my guest, as you can tell. 2 of them I've asked, and they've both been good, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to jump ahead now because now it might start to get boring. So I went back to another national personal training position to get my family to Colorado. That was a selfish family decision. We wanted to, we didn't have any family in California. I had little babies. So we altered my career so that I could take that opportunity. We moved closer to grandma, and we were in Colorado for 8 years. 5 of those years I was running PT, and the now small group training comes into the picture, and we kind of developed that for the company. And so I was in executive leadership now. I was overseeing 22 clubs across 7 states and traveling to those clubs, lots of hiring, lots of standardizing, putting in programs that had to be replicated in a specific way to a specific brand. So that was really fun. And what I was seeing, though, was interesting is that the industry was shifting. And I talked about the new fitness professional who was coming into the industry.
Ooh.
And a lot of fitness professionals were coming to our industry from untraditional paths. They were coming to us from other franchise concepts. They were coming to us because they were passionate and they were excited, or they wanted to be an Instagram star or be a celebrity trainer, but they didn't have the same foundation that maybe I was used to. So I got curious about how we could work with those fitness professionals. And I knew that I had become a purist in the sense that I thought that everybody had to go through the path I did: college, certification. So I took a pause and decided that I needed to move to, I went to Les Mills. And I wanted to see the group side of the business.
Yeah.
But I also knew that Les Mills does an incredible amount of research around what's happening in the industry now, what's happening in the future in our industry, and around millennials and around virtual fitness. And these were things I was really curious about, but I hadn't ever been really exposed to. I was in my bubble, if you will. So I spent the last 2 years working with Les Mills here in the US. And in my role, I got to work with hundreds of our US club partners. And I specialized in the large club chain partners. That was my sweet spot, and really helping them to implement programming. But I felt I was positioned to be more of a consultant with them, to understand the challenges in their business and present some solutions that maybe Les Mills could fit, and maybe even experiences I had in my past could solve for. So that was a really, really great opportunity.
Oh, yes. I love that on so many different levels. I love how you've thought, okay, yeah, a lot of my stuff has been on the one-on-one side of things. Great. Let me see this group side of things. And Les Mills, they're obviously huge over here in Australia as well. So we see a lot of the things they do firsthand, which is exciting. Okay, cool. And then from there, where did the idea side of it come to it? Did you move from the Les Mills to idea? How did that come into things?
Yeah, so I did, and it just happened. I'm in my first month here, but you had asked about the award, so I wanted to, for anyone who's thinking about an award or positioning yourself for something like that, I applied many times before I actually won, so I'll put that out there first and foremost, that it wasn't something that I just applied for and got. It's something that I worked really hard for, because one thing that I've been really passionate about in all the jobs, 2 things that I've been really passionate about in all the jobs that I laid out for you is, 1, I put advocacy for fitness professionals at my first and foremost. It was my passion. It was my objective. It was my intent. I never went to each of those jobs trying to just look out for myself selfishly. I care so deeply about this industry and about the livelihood of our professionals. And so I advocated for that in each of these roles that I've had, and I will continue to advocate because it is truly my passion and it has been through my career. So that's 1. Second is networking. Networking has been really something that's served me well in my career. I started 8 years ago when I was part of that franchise. I started some networking groups to get people together, to collaborate, to share, to break down silos, to stop looking at ourselves as competitors, and to start really bringing issues and best practices to the table so we can move our industry forward in a better way. Those 2 passions made me the ideal candidate for this role, to be honest. IDEA is a membership-based organization for fitness professionals. We have 275,000 fitness professionals in our network. But beyond that, we do the in-person conferences, we do the networking, we do all of these different services in the membership are really to become a platform for fitness professionals and their success. So it was almost as if my career that I shared with you led me to this perfect opportunity and timing to be the right person for this job.
Yes, I love that. And I love both those 2 points as well, because I think you've hit it on the head, the passion for it and the networking as well. I'm a huge networker myself back. So now I'm not sure how much you know about what I do at Fitness Education Online, but it's essentially what we do is we run education courses for personal trainers. So now I'm just educating personal trainers, but my background was in the fitness industry. My specialty was actually boot camp. And that's how I was able, even just to grow my boot camp, was simply by networking. And I would do even not necessarily specifically fitness. I would do every local networking group in the area. I learned Spanish at my local community college. I learned salsa dancing at the local dancing school. I went to Toastmasters to learn public speaking. I took singing lessons. I did anything I could in the community just to meet more people. Just because I like meeting people, but it's almost life is almost a numbers game, right? It's like the more people you know, the more potential clients or the more opportunities you have, or the more you can help other people. So I'm a huge fan of networking, and I want to break down some of the numbers for you as well when you were speaking about idea there. So it's similar, if you're listening to this from Australia, similar to a Fitness Australia, but Fitness Australia has about 20,000 members. So idea with 200,000, there's a lot more networking that's going to go on there. And our convention, have you been to Filex over here in Australia by any chance?
I have not. Someone needs to invite me. Now maybe I can go with my new
100%. Yeah, for sure. You've got my invite. So Filex has about 2,000 attendees go there. And I believe ID is at about 10, give or take?
12,000, I think. Yeah, this past year. Yeah.
Yes. And I'll give it a bit of a personal plug as well. I'm a huge fan of the IDEA convention. I'll tell you a little story, actually. You might like this since now you're the head of IDEA. I was, back when I was running boot camp, I was always into education. And I would go to all the different conferences and conventions around Sydney and Filex. And I was like, it would be cool. I'm like, it would be cool to get out of Sydney and get a different perspective on things. Same industry, but different perspective. And then I did a bit of a Google search, and I saw there was this IDEA convention. But I was like, it's in LA. At that time it was in, I think it rotates anyway, but at that time it was in LA. And I was like, it's in LA. I'm going to have to fly over there. I'm going to have to take 4 days off work. My clients are going to miss out. It's going to cost a few dollars to get there. There's accommodation in LA. Nah, I'm not going to do that. And then one of my colleagues actually went, and she posted the videos and the photos, and it just looked like an amazing time. And I was like, you know what? I got to go to this thing, So I got my my funds together, and I realized it was very achievable. Went down there. It was like the most amazing experience of my life. It was like Filex on steroids. There's like 6 times the amount of people down there. And I still remember this very first session. I'll give 2 stories for the listeners, right? The very first session I went to, I was super nervous. I hadn't left Australia in like 10 years. I'd never, done anything out of the fitness industry in Australia. The first session was a rookie rumble with Brett Clicker. I'm not sure if you know. Yeah. Yes. So that was an amazing experience for me because it's such a fun session. I got to meet other people straight away. And even a networking story, I've recently just connected with Brett, and now we do a course together. He's got a course for children, and now I've got it registered over here in Fitness Australia. So that was just a cool, fun story. But then the second session I went to was from a digital marketing side of things. It was a gentleman, Ryan Lee. Do you know Ryan Lee at all?
I don't.
No, Ryan Lee. Okay, cool. So he's actually a little bit out of the fitness industry now, getting more into the entrepreneur side of things. He was talking about online memberships. And he was like, hey, I've got this system. It's $30 a month, and I've got an online membership. People, it's $30 a month. You can cancel anytime. And I've got whatever he had in there, a few hundred people in there. I was like, you know what? It's not a bad idea. I might think about getting that together over here in Australia. Got that together over here. I've still got that membership site going. We've got about 300 people in that membership site paying $30 a month. And I was worried about, is it going to be worth it, me buying this ticket to go to America and go to this convention? What can I possibly learn? And I was so hesitant. But just that one session from Ryan Lee, it's made the investment back tenfold. So anyone listening to this, if you're interested in coming to IDEA, I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, and it's it'll open for registration soon, but presenter applications are actually due hopefully before this airs. It's August 23rd. If you're a presenter, we're always looking for new exciting talent. The event will start to sell, I think, in December. No, I'm sorry, tickets are for sale now, but the agenda will be released in December, and it's held July 8th through the 12th, I want to say, in Anaheim, California, again next year.
Now, for my listeners, because we don't know where Anaheim is, but I believe, is that Disney World? Is that
Disneyland, California?
Disneyland? Yes,
Yes.
that's what we know. So there's another little added bonus, right? Not only do you get to go to IDEA, but you can do a visit to Disneyland as well.
Yeah. Well, now we also do an event called PTI East, and that one's held in the spring. And that one is, I would say it's more directed to the personal trainer. It's a really top level presenter, a lot of presenters that come in, but we dive into specific topics, corrective exercise. We dive into a lot of the specialties, but we bring in a lot of great presenters for that. So while you're on the IDEA site, look for PTI if you live on the East Coast of the US, or if you want to come from Australia for that.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, Amy, we're coming to the end of the podcast here. I'm sure my listeners are like, okay, this is cool. I want to follow Amy. I want to, follow IDEA. I want to learn more about it. Where's the best place people should go? Should they follow you on Instagram? Should they follow IDEA on Instagram, on Facebook? Go to the website? What would you recommend there?
Okay, I'm going to give you a few tips, and this is all in line with my networking passion. So I have in LinkedIn, I'm a big LinkedIn advocate. Follow me on LinkedIn. It's Amy Boone Thompson, Boone. And we also have a fitness professionals networking group there. It's the one that I told you about that I started 8 years ago. It's over 27,000 fit pros. I screen it. It has to be a fit pro, a supplier, or someone that would add value to our conversations. So that's there. And then putting my new IDEA hat on, please check out IDEA. It's ideafit.com. We have a membership where you can get CECs, you can get online courses. We really do have the world's best presenters here at IDEA, and it's been an incredible platform for me for my entire career. I've been a writer, I've been a presenter, I've been an advocate, a focus group member for over 22 years prior to this job, and it has been a platform for me. So if you like my story or you see yourself growing up in the industry in this way or some other way, I would advise you to get connected with IDEA.
Yes, and I'll back that up, and I'll go one further. Do whatever possible to get to that IDEA convention. I can only speak to the one that I've been to personally, right? But I've been all over the world. I've been to the one in Sydney. I've been to the one in New Zealand. I've been to the one in LA. I've done a heap of workshops, and IDEA is by far the best. And it's. I'll back that up there. And I also want to give a little plug to your LinkedIn, because that's how I got the buy. I was like, oh, how can I find out about Amy? I'll Google. And then it came up on LinkedIn. I was like, this is an awesome profile. I know everything about this person. There's recommendations. So I'd even recommend, just even if you want to learn how to use LinkedIn, just go and connect with Amy there and you'll get some tips.
Yes, I love LinkedIn. Hey, one of the other businesses I'm running is IDEA China, and that's happening next week. So again, I'm not sure if the listener can hear, but anyway, IDEA China next year. So if you're on the other side of the globe and that makes more sense, we have a smaller version of World in China. And then also Oxygen Magazine. So for those of you, it's a female athlete directed magazine, and I need great stories, great women in the industry who are it doesn't have to be, the magazine was raised on the fitness competitor space, but really it's about the female athlete. And we're looking for different stories of trainers and enthusiasts who have great stories to share with other people about their journey in fitness.
Yes, I'll share that on my social as well, because I've got a huge network of women fitness professionals, and that magazine's huge in Australia as well, Oxygen. It's a popular one over here. Yeah. So I think you'll get some hits with that. But Amy, that's all we've got time for today. Is there anything I left out? Is there anything I should have asked you but didn't? Or is there anything you want to leave my listeners with?
Oh my gosh. I do. I just want to say thank you first, an incredible opportunity to be on your podcast. And second, I can only do all of this with the love and support of my family. So I just want to throw that out, that first and foremost, I'm a mom of Nia and Boone and a wife of Sean, and they support me through this entire journey. So thank you so much.
Love that. Thank you, Amy.
Bye.